My parents tried to give my inheritance to their golden daughter, but my grandparents had a surprising twist in store. The male 28-year-old hails from a family with a complicated and long history of favoritism. My younger sister Amy, 25, has always been chosen by my parents, particularly my father, over me. This predilection began in childhood and only worsened as we grew older. Amy was the golden child in my early memories. When I was 5 and she was 2 years old, our parents threw her an elaborate birthday party complete with professional face painters, a bouncy castle, and a petting zoo. That year, I celebrated my birthday with a store-bought cake and a little family lunch. This helped set the tone for years to come. As we grew older, the disparities became clearer. Amy always got the coolest toys, the best clothes, and the most attention. I remember saving months of allowance for a new bike when I was 10 years old. Amy wanted one as well, so when she saw it, she threw a fit. Rather than teaching her about waiting and saving, my parents went out and bought her an even nicer bike than mine. Another area where bias was visible was in education. Amy's parents attended all of her school festivities, whereas they usually missed mine. In 4th grade, I played the lead role in the school play. I practiced for weeks with considerable enthusiasm. My parents arrived an hour late on the night of the performance, so they missed my key scene. They consoled Amy after she complained of a stomach ache. She was fine later on. They had simply lost track of the time they spent playing with her. In terms of academics, nothing I did seemed to enough. I joined the math club, got straight A's in middle school, and even won first place in a regional science fair. Though my parents were unconcerned about Amy's accomplishments, they offered her a celebratory supper and a new phone as encouragement to keep improving when she received a B+ on one of her weakest subjects. Specifically, high school was difficult. With an eye on their approval, I immersed myself in any activity I could. Along with maintaining a 4.0 GPA, I was the editor of the school newspaper and the debate team captain. Amy breezed through school, barely maintaining a C average and spending much of her time hanging out with friends. I was chosen from our university as one of 2 junior-year applicants to participate in a well-known summer program at Harvard. It was an honor, and I felt wonderful. When I informed my father the news over supper, he grumbled and shifted the conversation to Amy's upcoming dance performance. At least my mother said, "That's nice." But she moved on quickly. My parents were unable to transport me to the airport on the night Amy's concert occurred on the same day I was leaving Harvard because they wanted to see Amy perform. I asked my friends' parents for a ride. Another painful experience was the college admission process. I spent months refining my writings, participating in extracurricular activities, and preparing for the SAT. Several prestigious institutions accepted me, and I was awarded a substantial scholarship to my preferred choice. When I told my parents about this at supper, their reaction was barely acceptable. "That's good, but don't let it run to your head. College isn't everything," my father warned me. "Just remember about us when you're off becoming a big shot," my mother remarked. My parents, on the other hand, were very understanding when Amy barely graduated from high school and decided not to attend college. They appreciated her for knowing herself and challenging conventional norms. They did something they never did for me. They paid for her car as a graduation gift. This repeated favoritism caused me significant emotional distress. Throughout my teens and early 20s, I battled anxiety and sadness. I began therapy in college and realized that my parents' behaviors were not my responsibility. Years of effort were required to improve my self-esteem and learn to validate myself without relying on my parents' approval. Despite the fact that my immediate family did not support me, I was able to live a respectable life. By the time I graduated from college with honors, I had a respectable job in finance and had even acquired my own home by the age of 27. Although my parents aren't, I'm proud of what I've accomplished. Here is where the present drama begins. On my father's side, my grandfather died not long ago. He left a big estate and was a successful entrepreneur who began from scratch. In his will, he divided his property evenly to his grandchildren, including myself, Amy, and our cousins, as well as his children, father, and siblings. My half of the inheritance was substantial, about $500,000. It would have allowed me to invest in my future, pay off my student loans, and possibly even start my own business someday. This unexpected windfall and the opportunities it could provide made me thrilled. When the will was read, my parents visibly became irritated. Later, they got me aside and told me that they thought it was unfair that I received an equal share. Amy, who lives in our parents' basement and works part-time at a coffee shop, said she needed the money more because she was struggling. Even though I was surprised, I tried to remain calm. I stressed that Grandpa made this decision. They had no say in how he did it. They insisted that I act morally and give Amy my due share. They were upset when I declined and started guilt-tripping me, calling me unappreciative and selfish. Every occasion that my father could recall in which they had assisted me was discussed. Though I worked part-time to help with funds, Dad prioritized paying for my medically necessary braces, purchasing the absolute minimum of school supplies, and allowing me to live at home while attending college. He conveniently forgot about the car they purchased Amy, the numerous shopping trips, and the fact that they still support her at the age of 25. The situation became increasingly more serious. My father, as executor of the will, decided to handle everything himself. Along with her own inheritance, he claimed that he would interpret Grandpa's intentions and give Amy my entire share. He said Grandpa would have hoped he knew about our unusual predicament. I was broken. This was not only clearly illegal, but it was also a painful reminder of how little my parents thought of me. I tried to argue with them, pointing out that Grandpa had always treated all of his grandchildren equally and was aware of our situation. My mother then accused me of speaking badly of the deceased by saying that Grandpa would have wanted anything other than what my father advocated. I recalled memories of Grandpa encouraging my academic and career objectives, but my parents dismissed them as misinterpretation. They stated that Grandpa wanted to make sure Amy was taken care of and had quietly expressed concerns about her future. When I inquired why he hadn't simply penned the will that way, they didn't respond. Amy, for her part, felt embarrassed in the situation but did not criticize our parents. When I tried to talk to her alone, she simply shrugged and said, "Mom and Dad know best." She was clearly not going to be much help. I sought advice from Grandpa's widow, my paternal grandmother, as I felt misled and wounded. She grew outraged when she found out what was going on. She informed me that my parents had no right to change the will, and that this was not what Grandpa had intended. Grandma sent some material that clarifies the situation. Several years ago, my parents allegedly urged Grandpa to leave everything to Amy in his will. Grandpa had fiercely resisted, stating that all of his grandchildren should be treated equally. He had even inserted a provision in his will stating that anyone who challenged the equitable distribution would lose their peace. Armed with this knowledge, I questioned my parents. Grandma's revelation of their previous attempt to influence the will astonished them. Saying they were simply concerned with Amy's future helped my father explain it, but I could see the guilt on their faces. Grandmother acted immediately away. She contacted the other executors and lawyers listed in her will. She also contacted my father's siblings, who were similarly outraged by what he was proposing. Together, they put an end to my father's scheme and ensured that the will was carried out as intended. Despite their displeasure with me, my parents had to back down. They stated that I should have addressed this internally rather than involving others and accused me of turning the family against me. My mother wailed over how I had divided the family and deceived them. When my father threatened to cut me completely out of their will, I told him I never expected anything from them. Now, if I accept the request, they threatened to cut off all communication. My father even suggested that if I inherited their house, I would not be welcome there. In a particularly low blow, my mother stated that my acceptance of the money shows that I never genuinely loved them and was only looking to profit from their death. The issue divides the extended family. A handful of my cousins are supportive since they are aware of the long-standing favoritism and appreciate my efforts to advocate for myself. Others feel I should have yielded in order to maintain peace, as family harmony takes precedence over financial concerns. Although my father's siblings are clearly on my side, this has affected their relationship as well as my parents. Amy is caught up in all of this. She revealed in me privately that, while she feels horrible and did not ask for it, she is not ready to confront our parents. She's been educated her entire life to rely on them and seek their approval, so I don't blame her completely. Still, a part of me wishes she could help me just once. This situation has brought back a lot of prior pain and hatred. I find myself recalling all the times I was passed over or disregarded in favor of Amy, the birthday parties I missed, the school functions my parents missed, the accomplishments that went unnoticed. This one incident seemed to be bringing to a close a lifetime of injustice. Despite the fact that the entire event has created a schism in the family, I am standing firm and want to claim my inheritance as Grandpa intended. My parents rarely talk to me, and family gatherings have become awkward. I missed our monthly family supper last week for the first time in as long as I could bear the icy shoulders and accusing glares. Despite the stress, a small part of me feels empowered. For the first time in my life, I am confronting my parents' harsh treatment. I'm declaring my worth and refusing to be written off. It's both dreadful and liberating at once. Though I believe I am in the right, the family turmoil is tiring me. I've been experiencing anxiety episodes again, which I hadn't had since college. To cope with all of this stress, I'm considering returning to therapy. Am I the one who should have refused to meet my parents' expectations and accepted my inheritance? Should I have simply given Amy the money to keep the peace? Although I am tired of being the family scapegoat, I am equally afraid of losing my family completely. Any advice or comment would be greatly appreciated. Update. A lot has transpired since my initial post, which was 6 months ago. I'd want to thank everyone for their encouragement and advice. It helped me stay strong throughout tough times. Let me start with the legal side of things. Many of you cautioned me, and I did consult my own attorney. He confirmed that I had every right to inherit, and that what my father attempted was illegal. He assisted me in recording everything and preparing to take legal action if necessary. Fortunately, things did not turn out as expected. My grandmother, together with my father's brothers, and her lawyers resolved issues outside of court. I received my entire money, and the will was carried out exactly as intended. My father was dismissed from his position as executor due to his attempts to manipulate the will. This was a pretty tough process that lasted several weeks. My parents threatened litigation, and there were stressful meetings and angry phone calls, but the law was clear, and they had to back down. The family rupture, which is still ongoing, is significant. My parents initially remained firm in their stance. They accused me of being avaricious and uncaring of my sister. They also attempted to rally other family members against me, spreading charges that I had pressured Grandpa into giving me money. Fortunately, most of the family saw through their deception. About a month after the will was accepted, there was one particularly terrible incident at a family gathering. My parents caused a disturbance when they arrived unannounced, despite the fact that my aunt was hosting and had not invited them. My father began to yell about how I had stolen from Amy and corrupted Grandma against her. My mother tossed an old photo album straight at my feet, claiming that I had wrecked all these great memories. It was unpleasant and terrible. It took several family members to calm things down and persuade my parents to go. My grandmother, bless her heart, proved to be my most significant supporter throughout this process. She told stories about how my grandfather had always been proud of my accomplishments and how he wanted to ensure that all of his grandchildren had equal opportunities. She even claimed Grandpa kept a scrapbook of my successes, including newspaper clippings of academic distinctions, copies of my college acceptance letters, and even the program from the university play that my parents had been late for. This understanding was both sad and amazing. Grandma also offered to help the rest of the family organize their records. She staged a family meeting that excluded my parents, recounting the full history of my parents' prejudice, even episodes I had long forgotten or had never heard of. Having someone finally realize the injustice I had endured for years was gratifying, but it also revived old wounds. About my sister Amy, she finally found her voice throughout all this. She approached me personally and apologized for not standing up for me before after some soul-searching and several lengthy conversations with our grandmother. She claimed she thought our parents' preference was inappropriate, but she was too afraid to challenge it. We talked about our childhoods and how they inspired each of us in tremendous depth and emotional intensity. Amy stated that being the favorite child was not as enjoyable as it seems. She never learned to stand on her own 2 feet and felt a lot of pressure to meet our parents' expectations. She told us of times when she wanted to do things on her own, but our parents would step in and handle everything for her, depriving her of the opportunity to grow and learn from her mistakes. This conversation marked a significant turning point in our relationship. We began to rebuild the sibling bond that our parents' prejudice had severed. Just the two of us have been meeting for coffee on a regular basis to discuss and encourage each other during this family issue. Everyone was taken aback when she announced that she planned to use her inheritance to pay for education. She claimed that watching me stand up for myself inspired her to start directing her own life. Once she had selected what she wanted to study, she enrolled in a nearby community college with the intention of transferring to a 4-year university. Our parents put out a shocked gasp. I suppose they were aware that their babying had not benefited Amy. My parents' reactions to all of this have been diverse and changing. They initially assaulted both of us angrily. They tried to guilt Amy into dropping out of college to support the family because they said I turned her against them. When their previous plan proved unproductive, they altered it. After numerous lengthy conversations with my grandma and witnessing Amy's remarkable transformation, my mother realized how detrimental their actions had been. She has made some tentative steps toward reconciliation, including starting therapy to address her issues. She contacted us to apologize, admitting that she had been unfair and requested the opportunity to make things right. It's a gradual process, and while I'm cautiously optimistic, I'm also setting firm restrictions. Unfortunately, my father has been less willing to own his mistakes. He is still outraged and feels like the victim in all of this. He has been cool toward Amy since she decided to go to college and hardly speaks to me. He has tried to control us several times, threatening to sell our childhood home if we don't come to our senses or forgiving us if we admit we were wrong. Although we are both standing firm, it hurts to see him alienate both of his children in this manner. The dynamics within the extended family have shifted considerably. I now reside closer to my father's siblings, who have been really helpful, and my grandma. Hearing from my aunts and uncles about how they dealt with my father's hard behavior throughout the years has helped to alleviate my loneliness in this fight. I've also formed stronger ties with several of my cousins who have supported me. Starting a monthly cousin meal helps us to catch up without the drama of the older generations. For myself, I have made good use of my fortune. After paying off my college loans, I now have a great sense of financial freedom. Working with a financial advisor, I developed a diverse investment portfolio. I've also saved some money in case I decide to start my own business in the future. I'm looking into opening a community center that offers competitively cost mental health treatments and financial literacy lectures. However, for me, purchasing therapy for myself and volunteering to do the same for Amy has been the most meaningful use of the funds. We're both learning to set fair boundaries with our parents and attempting to heal from our childhood experiences. Despite the long road ahead, I already feel like I'm growing in my understanding and ability to overcome emotional neglect and long-term prejudice. This entire procedure has brought some unexpected positive changes into my life. I now know a lot about setting boundaries and defending myself. Even though I know I did the right thing, it has not been easy, and there are still difficult days. I feel proud of myself for defying guilt and pressure. Among the more unexpected outcomes has been a shift in my career route. Dealing with all of this family discord and going through treatment has made me realize my own love for helping individuals who, dealing with all of this family turmoil and treatment has shown me how motivated I am to help others who have experienced similar family dynamics. I am currently considering returning to school to specialize in adult offspring of emotionally immature parents and working as a family therapist. I have also been assisting children from difficult family situations at a neighboring youth facility. It is extremely rewarding to be able to provide the encouragement and support that I wished I had received as a child. I'm even thinking of establishing a scholarship fund for youngsters in similar circumstances with some of my inheritance. My contact with Amy has gotten better. We celebrate Siblings Day once a month by doing something fun, just the two of us. Our hiking and picnic last month were the most relaxed and connected we'd felt since we were kids. Without our parents' influence, we are gradually rebuilding our relationship on our own terms. Things with my parents continue to be hard. My mother has tried to rebuild our relationship. She has been attending therapy on a regular basis, and she has begun to realize some of the consequences of her bias. We've had a couple one-on-one lunches when we've had some honest, albeit challenging discussions about our history and future plans. Though it is not perfect, there is clearly room for improvement. Nonetheless, my father continues to be resistant to change. He still claims he has done nothing illegal and that Amy and I should be grateful. He refused to be in the same room as me, so he skipped several family occasions. Though it hurts, I'm attempting to let go of my desire to force him to see things differently or control his reactions. Grandma has become a pillar of strength for Amy and me. She has been telling us more stories about our grandfather and how proud he was of us for standing up for ourselves. She has always advocated for justice and understanding, making her an excellent mediator in family disputes. The entire experience has taught me a lot about what it truly means to be family. I've come to realize that sometimes the family you choose is more encouraging than the one you were reared in. Along with forming a close circle of friends who have been extremely supportive throughout this road, I have gotten closer to my aunts, uncles, and cousins who have stood by me. Setting limits and exercising self-care have become increasingly important to me. I'm getting better at saying no to situations that jeopardize my mental health, and I no longer feel awful about putting my personal well-being first. I was so focused with gaining my parents' approval that I had always avoided exploring new interests and activities. To those in the same situation, I would advise you not to let anyone make you feel terrible about collecting what is rightfully yours. Even if it causes disagreement, it is reasonable to defend oneself. Though family dynamics may be complicated, you are entitled to fair treatment. Remember, it is never too late to begin living the life you deserve. Consult a therapist if required. Surround yourself with positive individuals. And don't be afraid to set boundaries. Your value is determined by who you are personally, not how your family treats you. I'd like to thank each of you again for your suggestions and encouragement. It meant more than you could have imagined during a particularly difficult time. Despite the difficulties, I am optimistic about the future and feel a sense of self-assurance that I have not felt in years. I am excited about where this new chapter of my life will take me, and I am determined to break the cycle of favoritism and develop stronger relationships with my own future family members.